right, hello everyone. Thanks for joining today. We're going to talk about Lakehouse Observability. My name is Greg. I lead the product team at Databricks for observability and cost management. So our team spends a lot of time thinking about exciting things like how to monitor your jobs and how much you're spending. Some people might not think that's the most exciting part of data and AI, but I'm clearly among enlightened companies. So thank you all for being here today. So let's see if we can get our clicker working. Maybe not. We'll just do it the old-fashioned way. We have some legal disclaimers. One of my favorite things about working at Databricks is we have some really cool coworkers. I get to meet a lot of interesting people with hobbies. One such person is a gentleman by the name of Naveen, who joined Databricks about a year ago when we acquired Mosaic. And for fun, he races high-performance cars. He's actually not here at the conference right now because he is in France getting ready for the 24 Hours Le Mans race, where he will be driving this Databricks-branded car with a team of people for 24 hours. So this is a high-performance machine made to go as fast as possible. And you might not know a lot about cars. I didn't either, but I started to get interested and look into this. And apparently this type of car has between 300 and 500 sensors on it, sending back real-time data to a whole team of people behind the scenes making decisions about when to replace tires, when to change something, when a part is failing. Behind every championship team, and that's Naveen's team there in a recent race, is a team of people behind the scenes looking at dashboards, making those decisions so that people can take action down on the ground and get the result they want. Now, you might not have a high-performance race car. You have something cooler, a data intelligence platform. So what we're going to talk about today is how we take data from our data intelligence platform and go all the way up towards actions we can take. Ultimately, you've invested in data workers, in data workflows, in being here at this conference. So you can deliver some value to your company, to your employer, to your team, whoever you're using Databricks for. And a lot of that is about taking action to make the right decisions. So the title of this talk is Observability. What do we mean by that? At a high level, we just mean understanding your system so you can prevent problems, knowing what's going to happen. There are a number of ways this comes about, having visibility into the platform and what's happening, where the performance is, understanding the costs and where you're getting value from, understanding who has access to data. There are a lot of different people that care about this, and you don't need to read every word on this slide, but when we think about observing, there are a number of different personas in different roles in the company. And the bigger your Databricks deployment gets, the more people will start to be concerned. You know, in the early days of Databricks, it was built by some PhDs at Berkeley, and some of their friends were using Spark. Databricks came out of that, and you had a lot of small data engineering teams. As you heard this morning at the keynote, you have some Fortune 100, Fortune 50 companies using it for very big things. A lot more people are looking at what's going on in the platform when you have that size deployment. We tend to group all of that into 3 different CUJs, critical user journeys, though. There's a couple of ways you could describe these, but I find that most challenges that companies face when they're trying to understand their use of the platform fall into these 3 categories. So FinOps, understanding how are we spending money, are we being effective? DevOps, which includes MLOps and AIOps and whatever new type of ops someone invents tomorrow. But that's understanding the actual work, how it's going, the performance of those teams, the workflows, tasks, etc. And then SecOps, security, understanding who has access to data. Obviously, if the wrong people have access to data, that can be very bad. You heard a lot about that this morning at the keynote of making sure that the LLMs were trained on only the data they were supposed to have access to, and you saw the benefit of when that worked well versus when that didn't. Our vision for being able to allow you to do all of those CUJs looks like this. This is what we've had in place for a number of years. You might have seen this slide before if you'd come to a previous Data and AI Summit. At the heart is something called system tables, which I'll talk more about in a second. From there, there's a number of interfaces you can use to access that data and understand it. And we're really pretty agnostic when it comes to what you use. One of the key things I remind folks internally when we're having conversations is we're not your only vendor. You already have other tools, you already have stacks, you already have places you go to do these type of things, and we should make it easy for you to integrate with that. So whether it's a native observability tool, whether you have some dashboards you've made in a data visualization tool, or whether you're using one of the monitoring tools from the cloud providers, our data can flow into that to make your tasks easier. But you're also familiar with Databricks, and so we've made it easy to access those system tables right from within Databricks. So you can ask questions using our notebooks or SQL Explorer, etc. And lately we've begun to develop more tools that are sort of natively built to help you perform those observability tasks. So we're going to talk some about this today and make sure everyone has a good understanding of what we have available to help you understand your Databricks environment. So I mentioned system tables are at the heart. What the heck are system tables? Raise your hand if you've had a chance to use system tables yet in Databricks. All right, not too bad. So, system tables are a live managed table within Databricks that you can query. Essentially, it's your information provided to you in a managed table. It's managed by UC, so there's governance on it. We handle all of the localization, compliance, retention type things in the background, and you can access it right from in your catalog. So all you have to do is open up a notebook, and you can type select star from system billing usage, or you can begin to slice and dice from there. So we announced system tables going to public preview a year ago on the same stage, and since then, a lot of folks have been using it. So the y-axis here isn't too important. The key is you can see two things. One, usage is going up. As we launch more and more types of tables for different things, more and more people have been using those. You can also see that no one queries the red tables on Saturdays or Sundays. Those are the two important takeaways. So we're very excited with the usage of system tables. We've iterated on a number of the key scenarios that we launched with feedback from customers like all of you, understanding what they're trying to do, seeing dashboards. And today we're excited to announce that system tables will be going to GA in the coming quarter on all three clouds. So this is our vote of confidence that this is the way for you to build going forward. You can build tools on top of them. You can trust that they'll be there. You can migrate off other solutions that you have. Databricks has a rich history of building, solutions or various CSVs, and system tables we've really decided are a much easier way to do things. So the billing tables will be the first ones going to GA as the platform goes to GA. Other tables will follow. There's some tables as recently as yesterday that went to public preview. Others are still in private preview. Those will mature their way along to GA. Various tables have various retention. The billing tables are set at a year. There's some key things we want to do in the future, though. One is give you options for longer retention, either configuring it to store that data within your cloud provider for longer than 365 days, or within Databricks default storage. So that's our SaaS storage right in the Databricks platform where you can keep it in there. So that's something we'll be working on in the coming months. We also want to have tighter integration with various alerting and observability tools to make sure that data is easy for you to do all the things I showed on the previous slide. And then finally, more tables, and we'll talk about tables in a second. So here's a basic diagram of all the system tables. I'll give you 3 or 4 seconds to memorize that, and then I'll give you some quiz questions. Just kidding. So there's a lot of tables. You obviously can't even read everything that's on that slide. I tend to group them all into these 4 buckets. We have our global dimension tables. So these are like the Databricks constructs that you'll want to query and join against other tables, users, workspaces, groups. We have product dimension tables. So every different type of product we have tends to have something that has names and IDs on it, whether it's a job, a notebook, an endpoint, a model, etc. Then there's those product fact tables. Those are like the individual transaction events that happen. A warehouse scaled up, a job started, a thing finished, etc. So you can observe what's happening. And finally, we kind of have these special purpose tables that really have a global view. So billing is one that's near and dear to my heart because I spend a lot of time on that, and audit as well. And those let you see everything with broad perspective. So today, we have a number of tables, and we have a number we still need to build. This is my sort of slideware sketch of what we have right now. The things in dark green are the things that will be going to GA. The things in light green are in preview. The gray is space where we still need to release those tables. So my commitment to you is that over the coming year, we'll be releasing these tables. And when I'm back up here next year on stage, hopefully everything will be dark green. We especially have gotten a lot of feedback that these global dimension tables are a thing that a lot of people want, and so that's a high priority for my team. So that's the future of system tables. There's a lot of great stuff you can do with it today. I'll show you some things shortly, but there'll be even more you can do in the future. And of course, this is only my rough understanding as of today. By the time I go to sleep tonight, there'll be 3 new products we have to launch tables for as well. So now I want to talk about some data observability tools. How are we making it easier for you? We intentionally took the strategy of going with data first before we did tools. And the way I described this to the team is, you could start by working on UIs, but what I've tended to see is when an application makes a fancy UI with some information, inevitably it leads to more questions, and then people want to drill down. And then eventually they ask for the raw data. And you have this gap between the UI and this raw data, where to double click and go further, you all of a sudden have to build from scratch and try to recreate what you see in the UI. And if anyone has attempted to do that before, you realize you'll spend a few weeks trying to do it and your numbers won't match. And then you'll spend another few weeks trying to get the numbers to match. So instead, we went the approach of start with the data and then build out from there. And what it meant was there was a little bit of this awkward period where I was giving everyone homework. Here's the raw data, have fun. We gave some GitHub repos, we gave some sample queries, but it was a lot of work to make use and drill in. Now, the good thing of that is we have a great community of very smart people who have done a lot of work, and they shared their ideas, what worked for them, what hadn't, and we've collaborated a lot of those ideas to launch what is sort of our gold class tools to look into certain things. So I'm going to show you a few things specifically in the FinOps area that we are releasing at Data and AI Summit. So the first one is a new cost dashboard built on Lakeview. If you're not familiar with it, Lakeview is our new dashboarding tool. It makes it easy to build a dashboard, publish it, share it with people. You can have it refresh, etc. Well, our team has spent some time taking the cost data and making it easy to see some of the key things you would want to about your cost environment. So this will be going to public preview on all 3 clouds in the near future. It's there in AWS right now. If you log in to Databricks after this session, Azure and GCP are coming very soon. Let's take a look at it. Let's see if I can have a good luck demo today. I'm going to refresh just to make sure my credentials are up to date. All right, so what we're looking at is Databricks costs for one of our staging environments. This is our Lakeview dashboard format. Up at the top, we have some of the common things you would expect from a BI type dashboard. We have our start date, which I've selected to 12 months ago. We're looking at through today. We are currently looking at all workspaces. We could filter this. We could even save a view of just one workspace and share it with that workspace admin so they can see just their thing, just the spend in their workspace. We've grouped it by month, but we could switch if we want to look by day and see if the team's been querying that red table on Saturdays and Sundays or not. And then what we have it currently grouped by is what we call billing origin product. And this is sort of like our services. You can see high-level things like DLT, SQL, etc. But we could also choose to sort by another category, such as by SKUs or looking at our top workspaces. So there is our refresh to a year or so of data by day, and you can see something happened with DLT at this point. I can do a click in to zoom and see what's going on with DLT, and it looks like towards the end of April, the team was running a lot of something there. I'll have to follow up with them and see what was going on there. Along with this, we've got a table down below which gives you some information of periods. I find that best on the month view. So if we're looking at month, And now that's cached, so it's a little faster going back. We can see that from previous months, our usage in some of these categories is growing in the 40% range. Other things are going down. That'll help us get that overview of what's happening on spend. One of the things that I know large companies, enterprises, or any large organization with a lot of groups cares a lot about is attributing spend by cost centers. So rather than just having all the spend, it's like maybe there are 4 projects or 10 teams or different applications. We've made it easy to A, see how much of your spend is categorized properly, and then B, see the spend in those categories. So as you can see, my team is not categorizing their things properly. So we'll follow up on that. All the gray space is stuff that isn't tagged. But of the stuff that is tagged, if I shift click, you can see we have a number of different tag categories. That one was real active back in August. This other one's been smooth. And then again, we can look by category to see the month-over-month growth rates. So we recommend using tags as a great way to divide your costs. This UI starts off by looking at the key budget. If you aren't using that, you won't see anything. You can switch and use a different tag, or if you want to get fancy, you can type in and use some expressions we've described here to look at multiple tags, such as if you have application and environment and want to slice it by both of those to see application A and prod versus application B and dev or something like that. So that'll let you do your attribution. And then finally, there are sometimes you want to understand where you're spending the most money in a category. What we've done here is sort of the top N, where N can be any of the attributes we have. Here we're looking at our spend by endpoint names. So endpoints are how we do our model serving. In this case, we can see it's a decent chunk of our spend. If we remove the stuff that isn't related to that, we can see the top ones are going to be our code completion optimized. Llama code is just below that, and you can see even some trends developing over time. You could also use this to look by a different thing. Instead of endpoint, you could look at jobs to see what your most expensive jobs were, etc. And so here you can see there are fewer jobs in this environment. There was more of the spend coming from endpoints. So that'll let you sort. The nice thing about this section is it's fairly future-proof. One of the things I have to deal with building products at Databricks is every time I think I'm finished, I'm not, because the team invents some new thing. And so with this, as they add new metadata, it'll automatically update in here. And so, while up above something like tags, you can use those across products. When you want to drill down and do a specific new product, this section will work. The new metadata will end up in this dropdown. So that's our new cost dashboard built on system tables. Now, the cool thing is, this is just a Lakeview dashboard set up in your workspace. We make it very easy from the account console to click a button, have it set up in your workspace, and then you can share it with your team. But because it's a Lakeview dashboard, you can also go edit it. So if you don't like our queries, or if you want to see something else, have fun. You can edit it and go from there. If you break it too much, you can always reinstall it and start from scratch. And we'll be shipping updates in the future as well as we have some more visualizations. So that's our Lakeview cost dashboard. One of the other features that we're announcing is going to public preview this week is our new budget alerts tool. How many of you have a budget for your team? Awkward laughing there, all right. We hear a lot about this. There are other ways you can monitor budgets. You could set up DB SQL alerts. You could run queries. You could set up a cron job to do something. We've tried to make it real easy for you with this new feature to set up a budget in a way that even someone that's not very tech savvy, that's beginning to look at Databricks, such as a finance user keeping an eye on things, can use. So again, we recommend tags as a great way to organize your costs. This tool is set up to work on workspaces and tags. You can create filters using both of those. You can set a spend and then an alert target, and it will alert you when the usage with that tag and in the workspace specified goes over your threshold. It's alert only. It doesn't take action. It doesn't shut those things down. We've had a lot of conversations with customers about what they wanted to do, and most people were very nervous about anything getting shut down because some critical infrastructure can run on top of Databricks. And so at this point, it will alert you and you can take action from there. So that, we can take a look. You'll see that from the account console within this usage tab. If you were using GCP or AWS before, you had these charts that have lived there for a while. With Azure, that wasn't there because Azure has some native built-in reports. That's actually where you kick off and import that new Lakeview dashboard. But there's a new tab right next to it with budgets, and you can see we have our various budgets that have been set up. And here is my budget, which I managed to blow way past in this environment. So as you set up a budget, it will backfill from the beginning of that month. So if you haven't set it up, it'll fill, and then the alerts will fire. If you want to have multiple alerts, you can set up multiple as well. So that feature is rolling out to all clouds. It's there on AWS now. It'll be on Azure and GCP in the coming weeks, and should make it a bit easier for you. Along with the UI, there is an API, so you can read and write those budgets if you want to script against it. I've heard some folks talk about wanting to have teams input budgets using like an internal UI or something they already have, script that, and then have the alert set up so we can take care of that. We'll be looking at the usage. And there's a little bit of latency on the budgets, but it's under an hour, so it's pretty quick. It's not quite instant, but fairly fast. Industry standard tends to be 6 to 8 hours, so we're trying to stay well ahead of that. I had to explain to Ali that 3 seconds was kind of unreasonable, but we'll see how long I can get away with pushing back on that one. So if you're interested in the topic of FinOps and cost management, there is another talk tomorrow called Lower TCO and Increased ROI, Managing Costs, being given by a very attractive young gentleman in another room in this building. That's a different facial hair and different haircut ago. But so if you'd like to join, we'll look at a few more things and go a little deeper into that. Now we're going to switch gears into DevOps and talk about a few different features that help you understand what's happening in your Databricks environment. So one of the exciting updates just 2 days ago, our jobs system tables and a new jobs dashboard went to public preview. So some of you were using this in private preview, but if you weren't, you can now get access to it. What this does is allow you to understand your jobs, what's configured, and then those fact tables I mentioned as well, the job runs, or the job tasks, and then the timelines around those. So you can see when jobs are happening. Now those tables provide a lot of data. This dashboard that our teams provided, and the code's up on GitHub, so you can just grab it from there and install it in Databricks. We'll make it easy to see some things. A couple things I've highlighted here. On the top is your most expensive jobs over the past month, so you can sort and see where you're spending money. That'll line up with what you're seeing in that cost dashboard, but it's going to be more specific to just jobs thing as you dive into this view. And then you can also look at jobs and their success rate versus failure, cancel, restarted, etc., to kind of monitor the health of those jobs over time. So the way we've talked about it is when you're looking at your Databricks environment as a whole, you'll want to be in that central cost dashboard to see where you're spending money. There's a certain point where you're drilling in and you know you care about jobs and you're doing that sort of DevOps scenario, you put on that hat. That's where you might come to this jobs dashboard and start to say, okay, what jobs are spending money? What kind of clusters are they running on? What do I need to pay attention to? So jobs has done a lot of work there. We're excited to have that. Other products will be following in their footsteps soon as well. Another area of DevOps you might already be aware of, but I wanted to highlight here for those of you that aren't yet or who got excited hearing today about all the AI features and said, well, how the heck am I going to control this? We have something called Lakehouse monitoring, and that essentially is a way to let you understand the quality of your data that powers your AI. So what it will do is keep an eye based on various setups you have to look at how that data is flowing. Is it still there? Are there any strange changes in it? And it can look at both for things like blank data, pipelines that have failed along the way, but it can also look at the values to see if there's statistically significant changes that indicate something has happened in the data set that might be a quality issue upstream. So Lakehouse monitoring is out. It's a whole product and it has some dashboards built into it. There is also specifically an LLM quality part of Lakehouse monitoring, which is made for you to be able to monitor your RAG applications. What that'll let you do is kind of monitor over time the quality of the outputs to see if it's slipping, if there's anything you need to pay attention to. It also has some automated scans built in. There's one for sort of toxic and unsafe content that's live now, and there's a private preview for looking at PII and data classification issues. So the team is investing in things there to help with all the stuff you heard Ali talk about on stage today, making sure you're building AI applications that have access to the right data, that are safe, etc. And so these are some of the tools we've built to help enable that. All right, I want to go back to earlier in the presentation for a minute. I showed this nice pyramid, and I know you liked it because I saw like 20 people take a picture of it to show their boss. I used to be on a data science team, and this is what we'd always talk about. Like, we're munging all the data, but at the end of the day, the point of this is to take some action as the business. One of my favorite parts about this conference is I get to talk to a lot of customers and hear how they're using Databricks, get to hear the use cases, whether it's self-driving cars or winning a baseball World Series or developing a cure to cancer or a COVID vaccine. Lots of cool things happening with our data. In order to make sure that environment's healthy, you're also trying to take action in your lakehouse to make sure it's performant, that you're not spending too much money, that you're not over-provisioned, etc. When I ask folks why they want this data, and I keep asking why, I often get an explanation like this. I want to look at the utilization so I can see where we've over-provisioned, so I can change some policies and update things so that I can have cost-effective data workloads. What they actually want is cost-effective data workloads. And so all of those steps are great, and sometimes homework is necessary. But at the end of the day, I bet none of you want to spend time having to look at those charts and do those things. You'd rather be able to scale and spend your time adding value in other places. And so we've invested a lot as a company into automation. You heard Ali this morning talk about removing complexity. He talks about that all the time internally, especially with the PM team. Every time we launch a new feature, he's asking how many knobs are on it, how many configurations, why can't we automate that, why can't that be intelligent? And that's what we're trying to do in a lot of places. So he also announced this morning that every product is going to be serverless. I want to encourage you to think about where are the places that you're looking to observe, to take action, and where are the places where you can let the action happen on its own. So one of the places people spend a lot of time is optimizing clusters, warehouses for SQL, looking to get the right size cluster so it's available, but there's no idle time. As you start to look at going serverless, some of those problems just go away. We have some other cool products that have come out recently. There's predictive optimization, which is a feature in private preview that essentially does some automatic cleanup and ordering to have your tables ready for the queries that are going to come at them. There's also managed tables, which is a UC feature, which takes away some of the work of managing your tables. I'd encourage you to think about those features because ultimately you can sometimes save more time than you would have saved money had you gone in and looked at things manually. So back to the race car. You don't have the high performance Le Mans Databricks branded race car, but you have the Data Intelligence Platform. You can drive action to keep it healthy for all of the data workers that are using it. We have data we're giving you to make that possible. We have tools we're investing in and releasing, and then ultimately There is automation to take some of the boring work away and let us all focus on more value-added tasks. So I hope you're encouraged by this and maybe a little less scared of trying some of those cool AI features that you heard about today. That's some of the fun of coming to a conference like this. You get all inspired by all the things, and then hopefully this lets you see that, hey, it's not going to be the other foot landing. You can manage some of these things. So thanks for coming today.